Okay. Here's another picture.
So how come the other one had better quality?
This is called a Hooverville. Okay. In America, many people suffering from the Great Depression and who were homeless created these little shanty towns called Hoovervilles. Why do you guys think they were called Hoovervilles?
Because President Hoover ruined everything.
Because the president at the time was President Hoover, and they were blaming him for it.
That they were broke.
Yes.
So they had no
Because
money
that's
to
what
do
people do. They blame whatever president is in office for their daily life problems. But in reality, just don't fall into this trap. Okay? Because the president really does not have that much impact on it. Okay. And so anyway, like in 1933, during the Great Depression, all the major countries of the world, it's worldwide, it's not just in America, meet and like try to fix this problem. Does anyone know who the person in the middle is?
He's French.
No,
Oh,
he's
the guy sitting
American.
down?
The one sitting down?
Oh yeah, that's
The one sitting.
FDR.
FDR, he was the president in the United States for a majority of the Great Depression.
How come they call it Hoover?
That Hoover was the first president, and then FDR was the president for the rest of it.
I like that one guy just staring at his food.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to go over is what caused the Great Depression. Anybody know what caused it?
Stock market
The
crash.
stock market crash is one thing. What else? Anybody know?
Loans.
The stock market crash is the big one. The other thing is the overproduction of wheat. So basically, people made way too much wheat, destroyed the soil, or good soil across the world, and then since there was so much wheat, there wasn't a lot of demand for it, and that caused the price to fall, so wheat farmers became very poor. But the big thing is the stock market crash. Can anybody tell the class, what is the stock market anyways? What is it, Juan?
It's like stock market is like basically, isn't it where they have like all these businesses and they keep track of like what they make and stuff like that?
Okay, good. So if a business does something called going public,
Yeah.
what that means, okay, if you've ever seen like Wolf of Wall Street or any of those business movies, okay, at some points they'll talk about going public. What that means is that if you go to the New York Stock Exchange, okay, you can buy a share of that company.
Yo, I got stock.
So buying a share of that company means you own a small piece of that company. Now, depending on how much money the company makes, that's how much the stock is, right? So Apple, right, is a very successful company. To buy one share of that is pretty expensive. What's it say on there, Juan? How much is it today?
It says, I don't know what it says. It says 200.19.
Good. So it's $200.19 to get one stock in Apple today. Now, if you bought it for $200.19 today, maybe in 5 years it's $220, so you made $20 on it, right? So it's an investment, right? You buy the stocks to try to make money in the long run.
Wait, is it that slow?
No, well, it depends. Sometimes they lose money. Okay, some people call it the Wall Street casino. All right? Yes.
How come you guys fund investments out of here? How come that that
I'm gonna get to it. All right. So yes.
What did you say? How did the overproduction of wheat make?
So basically, since they made too much of it, the price of it dropped way down. So anyone who is a farmer growing wheat ends up losing a ton of money. So anyways, I kind of explained what the stock market is. Does anybody know why the stock market crashed?
So it was because of like a loan thing.
Okay, good. So you guys know what a loan is? Okay, where you borrow money from a bank, or if you have a credit card, that's also taking a loan out. If you pay for something with a credit card, right, that means that you're borrowing money, you pay for it, the person you borrow money from pays for it now, and then you pay it back later with an interest rate. Well, what people were doing they were buying stocks with loans. Now, what happens if your stock doesn't make money and you bought it on a loan?
Take the stock. Won't know the money to your stock.
Well, not exactly. You can't pay the loan off, right? Because you didn't make any money on the stock. People were doing that like crazy, and because of that, the banks fail because the banks loaned out all this money and they're not getting it back. And the stock market crashes because people are buying stocks with money that they don't have. So this is going to lead the stock market to crash. Once it crashes and the United States economy isn't doing that well, why would that affect the rest of the world? Well, what did we learn about yesterday that the U.S. is doing to help other places in the world? What was the name of that plan? You remember? Begins with a D.
Oh, the Dawes plan.
Yes, okay, the Dawes plan, where they're loaning money to these countries that have in Europe that don't have a lot after World War I. So if we can't loan that money anymore, that means that other countries in the world are now also being affected. Okay, the final cause of the Great Depression is reparation payments, because once we can't loan that money out, France and the United Kingdom are now going to get super strict with reparation payments, and all of this is going to help the world kind of spiral out of control economically. Okay, so the 1930s was a rough time. All right, does everybody have this down? Can I go forward? Okay, good. All right, so listen. Here's what I'm going to tell you. For this slide, you might not need to write this down. Okay? If I asked you what the Great Depression is and you could say, yeah, a lot of people were unemployed. Yeah, the banks failed and there was severe economic losses. Don't feel like you have to write it down. If you don't think you can remember it, write it down. All right, so listen. Just to get an understanding of this, let's see how many people are there. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17, 20, 21. There's 21 people in this class. I want 1, 2, 3, 4, this whole row, and then you two, and the front two in this row, just stand up. Stand up. Come on, stand up. All right. So the unemployment rate was 25%. So that would mean, like, if this class represented, okay, in the United States, this many people would be without a job. Thank you. You guys can sit down.
I have a job.
Okay, so a lot of people were out of work, which means a lot of people didn't have any way to get money. All right, which meant that it was very difficult for a lot of people to live. All right, because of this, there's a lot of people that are struggling, a lot of people who can't support their families, and basically there's nothing you can do about it. If there's not jobs available, you have to figure out a different way to find work. That caused people to move all across different countries trying to find jobs. Okay, what are the effects of the Great Depression? There's two major ones, and these are going to happen in many different countries across the world. One, the government is going to become more involved in the economy. So people are moving away from what type of economy then if the government's getting more involved, John?
Market economy.
A market economy, or if the word that begins with a C is capitalism, same thing. Okay, so we're moving a little bit further away from capitalism and a free market economy, okay, where the government now is going to create more regulations. All right, and there's also going to be an increased popularity in socialism and communism. Why do you think that this is going to increase if there's high unemployment rates and things like that? Yeah, Connor.
So everyone just wants to make some money.
Yeah, because everybody wants to have something, right? So you hear these philosophies come out where, you know, the government is ensuring that everybody has, you know, a certain amount of money and everybody's eating. Okay, if you're part of that 25% who doesn't have a job and has zero income, that's really going to appeal to you. If you're someone who has a job but doesn't make very much, that might appeal to you. Okay, so across the world, this is going to increase. Also, the Soviet Union has now been around for about 15 years, okay, the first major communist country. So that's also going to drive the increase in popularity. Yes, Greg?
You said 25% of the population wasn't employed?
Yeah, we're unemployed. 25%. Can I go forward? Yeah? Okay. So anyways, we're going to talk about a few different countries and how the Great Depression affects them. Do not write this question at the top. So in Germany, it's pretty well known that, and if you don't know, it's fine. I'm going to tell you now. The reason why Hitler is able to get elected is because of the Great Depression. Right? In Germany, everyone is so poor that it kind of opens the door for, and people are desperate, to listen to an extremist, crazy leader, okay, and think that their ideas are good. Right? Their government was called the Weimar Republic. It was a democracy, and it's failing. All right? This is because the economy is so bad. First they had the hyperinflation, then the United States was bailing them out and helping them, and then the U.S. couldn't do it anymore. So the government now doesn't really stand much of a chance to succeed. And they had something called a coalition government. Okay, a coalition government means that there's many different political parties. Okay, in the United States, for the most part, how many political parties do we have? Two. Basically two, right? Here's what's good about two. Okay, in most elections, right, it's close to 50% to 50% for each to vote, right? Give or take 5% each way. Right? So, if the Democrats win an election, they might win 55%, right? A majority of the country, or vice versa. Right? In a coalition government, like in Germany, there's 30 political parties. So if there's 30 political parties, some might get 5%, some might get 15%, and the winning political party might only get 30% of the vote. What's wrong if the winner of an election only gets 30% of the vote? Jay?
Way less than half the country.
Yeah, way less than half the country might not support that person. Well, that's exactly what happens with Hitler, which we'll go into more detail about next week. Okay? But he basically wins an election with 30% of the vote. Okay? And that's what's bad about a coalition government. Okay? But that's how desperate their country was. Right? Is that they would listen to someone who's blaming one group of people, who's very positive about Germany, saying, we're going to build a new Germany where everyone's great again and we're powerful again and we're not poor anymore. And when you have this desperate population, that sounds attractive to a lot of people. He didn't come out and immediately say, hey, by the way, we're going to kill a huge percentage of the population. He kind of slowly lets people know that. But at first, he's a good public speaker that captures the audience, and he uses the Great Depression and things like that to push the people to vote for him. Yes?
How do you get involved with the war coming out of the Great Depression?
Huh?
Because how does Germany get into a war so that Leno wanted?
So next week when we really learn about pre-war, like the 1930s Germany, you'll see that they do start to build their economy up a lot. And a lot of that is because they ignore the regulations they have on them. So they do start building factories again and employing the population. Yeah, so it does change a little bit. But this is just like an intro to next week. We're not going to go too deep into it. Okay, in France, they're also going to have some political instability since there's a lot of poverty there. Their main communist or socialist party was called the Popular Front Party, okay, and they were radical, wanted change, wanted communism or socialism.